What's up, everyone? Welcome to Three Chicks in a Pod. We are down a chick tonight, but it's okay because we have two other chicks joining us as well. So we have Jen Matthews Lewis to my right or left, and I am Megan Price.
Yeah.
So, Jen, I will let you take over on the other intros.
And we have some very special guests with us this evening, y'all. We're very excited about having Miss Stacey Miller and Miss Monique Allen on. They are Stacey is the managing partner, and Monique is the CEO of Stembella and Maat Enterprises. And we heard about them, and we just thought this was a great topic because we are three chicks usually talking about sports, but as everyone knows, we've also done a lot of talk about Title IX, and in our minds STEM really ties into Title IX a lot, especially nowadays. So Stacey, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and
Absolutely. So
Go ahead. Sorry.
I am Stacey Miller, and I am the managing partner of La Bella Vida Inc. And we are co-founders of Stembella. And Stembella is an application that basically gives young people an opportunity to learn STEM in a very fun and engaging way.
Yes. And Monique, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Monique Allen, and as you said earlier, Stacey and I are the co-founders of Stembella, and Ma'at is a separate enterprise that we have connected with to get access to the Native American and tribal communities to bring this technology to the Bureau of Indian Education schools. So Stacey and I came together. We are both passionate about trying to get STEM implemented and targeting demographics that have traditionally been left behind. Stacey is an amazing educator and has worked very closely with not only schools, but athletes. She works with different demographics that I've been interested in trying to target to make sure that they stay engaged with STEM and not get left behind.
Love that. Now, what really intrigued me, and I'm sorry, apparently I'm learning how to speak today. But what really intrigued me was when I was initially looking at y'all's website for Stembella, I saw that y'all are really incorporating a lot of makeup. And that's just a unique way to really get girls interested into STEM. I mean, all people too, because a lot of men are really into makeup and the physics behind it, the chemistry, all of that. So what led you guys into that direction?
Well, we were looking, we've always been advocates of STEM education for marginalized and underrepresented communities. And we were thinking, okay, so what do young people like? What are young people into, right? And so we were trying to find a way to provide STEM education to this population of youth that we think will be fun. And so we're like, well, when we were girls, what did we like? We like makeup and we like beauty and we like, things of that nature. We like music and those type of things. And so that's how we came up with the concept of Stembella, because we researched it and we saw, well, there's not very many entities that are out there educating the youth with the use of the beauty industry.
Right.
Because we found that there's so many things in the beauty industry that can intrigue the young people and get them interested and keep them engaged. So that's where we came about to go into the direction of offering STEM education through the beauty industry.
Okay, I love that.
And then one of the things too is, as she so excellently explained, a lot of the children who typically don't like STEM, or they tend to shy away from it, they don't even understand that there is a science behind beauty. There's a science behind music and instruments. So when we were brainstorming, trying to figure out how do you get the typical athlete? How do you get the typical young lady who would rather play with her lipstick, understand that? Did you know that you can make your own lipstick? and that you're a chemist if you can bring colors together and turn it into a solid that's, used to paint your face. So, our goal is to create a whole pipeline to companies like L'Oreal, Fenty, all these beauty companies that are out there. There's a whole demographic of kids that they haven't even tapped into that could be creators for them. If we could just get them engaged. So Stacey made an excellent point about, our goal is not to go after the kids who are, getting the A+ in biology and building labs. We want to go after the kids who, typically don't even like sciences and say, hey, did you realize you could do this using beauty?
That is awesome. I love that because honestly, don't get mad, but when I went and saw Hidden Figures back in 2015, 16, we walked out and I looked at my husband and I go, honestly, if this movie had come out when I was still in high school, it may have changed like the trajectory of my life. Like it was just impressive.
Absolutely so.
Yeah, because I mean, like I liked biology, but that was about it. But only because I started learning the vocab words. I'm not gonna lie, I totally cheated through biology by learning the vocab. So,
and what a way to kind of reach that demographic with makeup, because and to tie it in with sports, we have several ladies that are cover girls, like Liz Cambage was one of the cover girls, and a representative for that. And there's other ladies that are sponsored, and especially now that college athletes are able to be paid by NIL deals like this, that could be something that it could reach that demographic as well.
Well, Stacey is probably going to say, we're not here to talk about that. But this amazing soul has a company or a program called Clutch Communications Academy. She is doing media training with athletes. And so when you start looking at the science behind sports, the science behind communication, where we're moving towards AI, like there are just so many different avenues that we can tap into once we bring it all together. So when you talk about people, like athletes and things like that, being on the cover and the science behind sports is definitely there, because we're tapping so many industries right now. And just teaching these kids, media training alone, there's a science behind being able to speak, put words together, the technology of all of that. We see, all of these pro athletes that are out there who can barely sometimes hold a conversation that probably need that training after a game. There's a science behind it, and we kind of don't think of it that way. So we're just trying to turn on the creativity with everybody in every demographic.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that. And I apologize
how did the two of you ladies get into each other's lives? Like, how did y'all find each other and start developing this?
Well, we worked together on a project years ago. It was almost like kind of a potpourri, I'd call it. Like it was a bunch of different people that got pulled together to work on this particular project, and Monique and I were just drawn to one another, and we had great synergy in our working, and we had great conversations. We had a lot of the things in common. We both had similar passions when it comes to like education and of course youth development and things like that. And then we both had a passion for business and business acumen, and so it just kind of was like a little marriage made in heaven.
I love it. And y'all are both in the same area, right?
Love it. Yeah, I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I apologize if my internet goes out again, just so you know. It's annoying.
It's okay.
So what was your driving, like, I know we kind of touched on this, but how did y'all decide to really focus on like the untouched girls when it comes to STEM?
Well, it was kind of our brainchild during the pandemic when we had so much time on our hands, right? So STEMbella was actually our pivot during the pandemic. So we had initially had we had our things all lined out. We had a
Mhm.
contract and a partnership, and it was in person. But of course, the pandemic shut all of that down. So while we were quarantined, of course, she and I were still in communication, and we were like, okay, so just before the pandemic, we did our first launch. It was successful, and we had our whole year 2020 planned out of what we were going to do. But then, of course, the pandemic hit. We were all quarantined, and so we were like, okay, what are we going to do now? Because we were quarantined, but life still goes on. So
Mhm.
we just thought about what can we do to pivot in the virtual environment? What can we do to pivot with our new normal? With COVID and the quarantine, and we just started thinking about what can we do to reach the young people who still had to go to school during, the pandemic, and what could we do that would engage them because it will be fun and also leverage what they already had to use in the first place, which of course is AI and the internet and the virtual environment. Monique?
Right. And so going back to, like when she made the comment about our partnership that we had with Microsoft, we were supposed to go on like a tour where and host all of these things at the stores, right?
Oh,
And
that's
so
cool.
yeah, it was really an amazing opportunity, but Microsoft has since shut down a lot of their stores. There's only like what is it,
Oh.
maybe one or two left, Stace?
Yeah,
And so
flagship
when
store.
we had to pivot, we were already working on STEM Fest, and STEM Fest is the musical component.
Okay.
Everybody loves music, right?
Right.
So then we
Right.
were saying, what could we do? And so we came up with this concept of this mixed reality where you're literally walking from station to station. You're in a virtual chemistry lab creating makeup, and you don't need to be at school in order to do that. So what if you could be at home, and still be able to develop, create? I mean, it's almost, similar to video games that the kids are playing already. So we had to get really creative about stepping away from a brick and mortar and going virtual. And I would say that she and I, we are very passionate about we come up with so many different ideas, but the one that really stuck with us was we need to do STEM Bella. Beauty is huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Um, we are definitely headed in a different direction in terms of how things are made. We're seeing companies out there that are already, trying to use VR in the beauty
Mhm.
world, but nobody still is, and that's in our end game with all of these conversations is we want the user adoption.
Yeah.
We want the kids to know that this is out there, it's available, and stop teaching our kids, about STEM using the same old boring concepts. You're not getting their attention with it. So if we can step in and help augment their reality and say, hey, here's a virtual chemistry lab, just go from station to station, create your makeup, and then you can start a business with that because there's a business component at the end of it, where you can do social media marketing, see if people will pick up, your product. Like there's so many different touch points that we were able to pull together, and it's our baby. Of course, we're proud of it, but our biggest thing at this point is just making sure that we're lock in step with today's technology, what the kids are trying to do, where they're headed. And Stace and I are just, we are very passionate about making sure that these communities who, these kids that typically really don't care about STEM are like, well, wait a minute, I didn't realize, I could do this.
And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like STEM needs to just be taught at a younger age
Right.
because STEM does go into everything like y'all touched on. It's the physics behind. I was a competitive swimmer. My
Mm-hmm.
senior year in high school, I tried running track. My father will tell you, and I'm a daddy's girl, just so you know, that his biggest regret in life was letting me switch when I was a kid, like 5, 6, from running and being a competitive runner to swimming. But when I made that switch my senior year in high school and I just thought I'd try it, even the breathing is different.
Yes.
So when you're looking at the physiology and the science behind that, it's so important. So I love, Stacey, that you also have your other group that you're doing STEM and sports with. Like, that's really cool. Hi, Jeremy. Sorry. Jeremy's one of our contributors a lot. So, and Megan had a bad internet connection, so we're not sure what's going on with her internet. She'll be back in a second. She didn't just bail out, I swear.
Well, I saw it spinning, and then poof.
Yes, started spinning. She was gone.
So with the things that I do with the young people in the sports is that I go into schools, I teach them media training. We talk about everything from velocity and gravity and things like that affect sport in the science and STEM world, but also we talk about media training and how they can prepare themselves to be interviewed by the media and to also be learn in front of and behind the camera, learning what the technology is, learning what the terminology is, learning how to conduct themselves in media. And then we also talk about NIL deals and preparing themselves for let's just say offers and interviews and being influencers and ambassadors for different brands and things like that, and representing themselves, their institutions, schools, and anyone who might be endorsing them, and just creating everything as a brand and knowing how to navigate those waters as young people, but still being able to still be young and fun and authentic and themselves, but also taking care of the business, because NIL is a business, sports is a business, but knowing that they still have to have a business mind,
right,
in order to participate in all of these entities. Because if you don't, then you'll see what happens when people don't have that at top of mind. They lose endorsements, they lose scholarships and things like that. That's
exactly.
When
you were talking about that, I thought about the first female athlete. She's a gymnast at either LSU or Alabama. When Megan's internet comes back up, she can remind me. But I know it was in the deep South. I'm in the South, so. But she's a gymnast, and at that point, when NIL first came out, she had the biggest NIL contract because she was doing her own clothing line and her own makeup line and using STEM, and she was creating it. She was using the fabrics, which I loved. And I think my first real reintroduction into STEM was back in 2013 or 2014 when I was working for another company, and I was selling copiers and not very successfully. There's a town called Kannapolis right up the road, and they're using STEM and food. And they're doing a lot of research, and they're using all of the universities in North, South, and Virginia. I think Georgia too, but I don't remember. And it's really freaking cool. When you really people forget how cool science is. And to answer your question, of course, especially against the 49ers, just saying. I don't know if you saw Jeremy's question. He said, Megan Price, her internet is spotty as Dak's accuracy.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I couldn't help it either, Jeremy. But so did
that was rude. That was really rude, Jeremy. That was really rude. I caught it just in
Megan's
time.
like, I caught that.
Go Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers.
But were y'all into STEM when you were in school?
I picked my poison, right?
Okay.
I feel like I've never been. I was laughing. I always say I've never been a sports person. I enjoy sports, but I've never participated in sports. As far as science goes, I like astronomy because I'm into the moons and stars and the celestial. And I did like science. I didn't really like things that stink, but I did like science, and I liked, just seeing what works and tinkering and seeing how things work together and things like that. So those are the things I was good in math, but it was funny. You never, like back then, I didn't think, I guess STEM wasn't a thing.
Right.
It wasn't
It
like
really wasn't.
STEM, but I did like math and was good at it to a point, and then once it started not being fun, or it started getting to have too many letters, I didn't want to be bothered with it.
I relate, Stacey. We're on the same page. Same page. My dad got sick of tutoring me in math, so he hired my best friend. Yeah, we're still friends. I'm kind of surprised.
Well, I love how y'all found a different direction with COVID.
Yes.
COVID is actually something how Jen and I met. That's how we got into the sports world. We had a very good friend who passed away, Alex Fleming, but he had an NFL show called the NFL Carousel, and we were both reps for our prospective teams, and that's how we ended up meeting. And just kind of out of COVID came not only a great relationship, but for myself, a career direction. So I love to hear stories like y'all's, how y'all were able to turn that into something positive.
Yeah. Megan's been so successful at this. Like, honestly, she's on the radio now, and she's killing it. So that's why I always say she's the professional one out of us.
Well, thank you. Now, I know we've talked about y'all's project a little bit, but also we got some news concerning y'all's area out of the WNBA this past weekend. Y'all are going to be getting y'all's own team. Do y'all love women's basketball?
Oh, that's dope. Yes.
I do. I love women's basketball. I love women's college basketball. You can't see it, but I'm tall. And people always wonder, do you play basketball? I'm like, no.
You're like, no, thank you.
No, I watch basketball, but so I'm 5'10", and I tower over most people,
including me.
Yeah.
Monique's like, I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
She's tiny, and I'm tall, tiny. And so but I'm so excited about it because I think it's going to re-energize our area. We've had several. We've had all the teams, and now we've gone from all the teams to none of the teams, and so we're really excited about a WNBA team in our area. I'm looking so forward to it.
I do a lot of coverage for the WNBA, and just the fact of, they've already announced 2 teams. So the Bay Area and then Portland. And so then that means that because those are both on the West Coast, that means we're also going to get 2 teams on the East Coast to balance out the league. So we're going to be increasing the league by 30%. So it went from 12 teams, and we will now have 16 teams. So super excited about that. Wow. And yes, Jeremy, I heard you comment or saw you comment where you said the topic of NIL. I do think that could be something really positive in whatever direction you choose to go with STEM.
And Megan, I was asked, I couldn't remember what school, but I remember when we were talking about NIL before, we were talking about the one young lady who actually used STEM because she was a gymnast. I can't remember what school. Jeremy, you may know this too. It was like LSU or Alabama maybe, and she was the highest paid NIL because
you're talking about Suni Lee. Somebody might know her name.
Yeah, we may know her name. Thanks. Can't believe I forgot that since she was just at Worlds. Thanks, Jeremy.
Oh, LSU. I thought we were talking about Suni Lee. That was Auburn, but okay.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm being schooled right now. And I don't know. I just think what y'all are doing is so important and so impressive because I actually lived in New Mexico for about 7 years. And a lot of the tribal lands, this education was neglected there. Like, I'm not knocking it, but I even had teacher friends in New Mexico who would be like, yeah, thank God for Mississippi because of the education. So, so I love that. Yeah.
I know.
The Navajo Nation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm
No,
in West Texas, and so I'm probably like an hour and a half away from New Mexico.
Mhm.
And yeah, the education system there is tough, and definitely with the reservations. So knowing that there's an outlet for that, or for them to be able to further STEM in their
Yeah.
particular situations.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that y'all are tying so many different facets, sports, music,
Right.
makeup, everything. Like, what are your next plans? How else are y'all going to grow it?
Well, we're in the lab.
Or are you allowed to talk about it just yet?
Well, we have some things that we are working with. We're leveraging AI right now, and just wanting to gamify STEM Bella and make it a lot more user friendly and a lot more interactive, which I think will make it more engaging. And of course, it's going to be. We have it where it's fully adaptable so that the education component can be applied to very young youth, as well as the older young people who are high school, college age, and then going into that pipe work to school to pipe work pipeline. So that's where the beauty brands come in, because we like to partner with them so that we can provide the young people with options, of course, career options, and then a funnel, if you will, to go into working with the beauty brands through the STEM concept that we've created,
Mhm.
and will be adapted by the brands.
And
Right, very
that's
interesting.
really cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. I love it. And I'm
Um,
impressed by you ladies. I really am.
Thank you.
well,
so
Thank
thank
you.
you, and
Jen,
we love the idea that you know. We love the idea that you have this podcast and you're giving us a platform. So we appreciate you giving us an opportunity to talk about it. I see Jeremy is talking about being against the AI thing. It's interesting. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole for a quick
Okay,
second.
please
I was
do.
I
just
was I was just about to do the same thing, so I'm glad you are.
yeah. So let's talk about this for just a quick second, because he brings up a very interesting point. One of the things that I'm seeing, there's a billionaire, a Saudi billionaire out there that has been backing a technology where it will allow people to create their own like avatar to go in and interview for them,
Yes.
leveraging AI. So just think in terms of this person is you, and the interviewer may not even realize they're not even talking to the true human being, right? So when
Hmm.
he talks about being against AI, it's like one of the things that we want to make sure of, as because we're basically creative developers, right? We're trying to change, be a game changer in the educational space. What we don't want to do is take the kids, the actual human children, out of this process. We don't want them being replaced. We still want them to embrace it. So when you've got technology, that's out there that's allowing you to, send in your somebody else in place of you, but it's supposed to be you, that can be very scary. But also it's also a blueprint for us in terms of education. Like, okay, this is what you don't do with AI, because you want to keep the kids involved and embracing the technology, but also advancing, so that they're not getting left behind. Because you've got countries out there, like China and and everywhere else, where they're leaps and bounds ahead of us, because they're well aware of what this technology can do.
Now,
So in the radio world, before AI even came around, or became accessible for the public like this, the radio jobs had already kind of fallen down by almost 70% nationally,
Hmm.
just because everybody's finding different avenues for their music, or different avenues for
Right.
their sports talk, podcasts. And then once AI came out, so there was a young lady in Seattle who copied her voice, and like she's now the AI voice for Cumulus. And so basically here in America, there's two big radio companies or broadcasting companies. You have Clear Channel, you have Cumulus. Obviously, there's smaller ones, but those are the two big ones.
Right.
And so our industry was cut by 70% just by the progression of the way people get their music. Then when COVID hit and podcasts became vastly more popular, it has become very hard to keep our jobs. And so while Jeremy, I can see where your concern is, I mean, you're probably thinking on a more dangerous level, but I mean, there are other levels where it affects us directly on a smaller level, but we adapt. We keep moving forward. You know, like just even the way our relationships developed out of COVID, we adapted and we keep changing. And so I think you just keep going forward with that. And while it can be scary, you have to kind of set your boundaries, your moral boundaries with it. And then because it's changing, it's happening. It's already here.
I'll piggyback on that in that, you know, AI is just the beginning, and that technology is not going to stop progressing and advancing. So we want to leverage AI and use it as a tool, but not use it to replace anything, but also enhance experiences, because it's out there and you might as well use it. But it's kind of like they say, use your powers for good, you know, and use it in a way that you can get the most out of it and the benefit of it, but never to replace the human experience. Because without the human experience, I mean, clearly a human created AI, but we don't ever want to take out the human aspect of it and the actual relationships that develop with actual interactions with people.
Right. And Jeremy, that's what I was trying to say. Like you're probably thinking on a more dangerous level of like what happens if something like Smart House on the Disney Channel and it turns on us, you know. But like, and you know, that's an extreme situation, and that may come up. But I guess my thing is you adapt, you change, you go with it. Because I mean, are you going to get left behind because of it? Because eventually, I'm not going to have a radio job. You know, like that's just kind of, you can see it happening. But I will figure it out and I will keep pushing forward.
Right. Exactly. Sorry, we'll be making millions with our podcast at that time. Don't worry. And
all right, ladies. Well, that is pretty much the length of our show. Jen, unless you have some other questions,
I was just going to say this one thing, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Megan, but
no, you're fine.
My only thought on what Jeremy is saying, even when Leonardo like made the sketches of the first helicopter and the first airplane, like people got freaked out, you know. And when the Wright brothers took the first flight over here in North Carolina, people got freaked out. But people adapt, just like the world adapts. I mean, we've got to make some adaptations ourselves to help the world, but it's all gonna. I think at the end of the day, it'll all be very cohesive. One could hope.
Eventually, yeah.
But we love what you ladies are doing.
And do y'all have any contact information? Like, are y'all open to having followers on social media? And then how can we keep up with the projects that y'all have going on?
Well, we have our Instagram page. You can follow us at STEM Bella. And we have a website that's STEM with 2 M's Fest. So we are definitely looking to partner with schools out there. If you know of a program that is looking for something that's more of a game-changing, cutting-edge education, let us know. You can send us an email on our website, and we are happy to show up with our technology and host any type of workshops. We are definitely open to, you know, other STEM collaborations that align with what we're doing, but pretty much our goal is to become a household name, not only just for beauty, but just for STEM, for girls, for representation, for any community out there that's just looking for change. You know, that's our goal in our end game. Stacey?
Well, I couldn't have said it better. What she said. What she said. We're just really interested in making sure that everyone has a seat at the table. So
Yes.
that's what
Yes,
our
and
goal is.
thank you for that.
Yes.
Definitely, I think that's something that us ladies, and if Carrie was here, I know she would say the same thing, that we try to make sure that everybody inclusion, how important inclusion, but also equality is. So, that's something that we strive for, and not only in women's sports, but the coverage of women just in sports in general. So we're
Yeah.
so appreciative of you, what you ladies do, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yes,
Thank you for having us and hosting us. Have a great
thank you
evening.
for having us. Stay on for a second after we end the show. But everybody, will see you in 7, and we'll have another guest next week as well. And we will see you guys in 7. I'll be repetitive. Thanks, guys.